Alrighty, that was probably less than 5 minutes, but I would like to welcome everybody back to one of my shows. This is a mostly new. I did one episode of this during the Kickstarter, but this is a new show. I don't know that I'm going to have a regular schedule for this yet, but this show is going to be called Summary Judgment. And what I'm going to talk about is something entirely different. So my regular show is Full Circle. I talk about where I talk about Circle Roll Bros, the game War Machine Hordes by Privateer Press. This show is going to be focused on an entirely different game that I'm really excited about. And to me, it's still a miniatures game, but occupies a very different niche. And that game is called Judgment, hence the this part of the name. So as you can see behind me, this is some of their art. These are some of the heroes for the game. And just to give you a little bit of background, here's what the game is about. This is a skirmish-sized game. You're typically going to be playing a game with 3 models against their 3 models, or 5 versus their 5. The game is played respectively on a 2-foot diameter circle or a 3-foot diameter circle. And the game is based on the general concept of a MOBA, which is a multiplayer online battle arena. Examples of this are League of Legends, Dota 2, Smite, the one I play, just blanked on, Heroes of the Storm, one of those days. All examples of MOBAs. And if you've ever played one of those, one of the key features of a MOBA is you've got all these diverse different types of characters. And I only play heroes, so I can't really comment on any other than that. But these different characters are different types of characters and do different types of things, but they all sort of have like a category they fit in or fit near, where some pieces are there to defend and some are there to do damage and some are supporting in some way. And this game really tries to exemplify that, right? It also is going to have a very fantasy feel. Things like, if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, or if you play War Machine Hordes, if you've played Warhammer, any type of game like that has typical fantasy elements, you're going to be familiar with this. The races, I mean, you can see back here, I'm always pointing backwards, Astariel here is elf, we've got an orc directly behind me, we've got a human over there. Sorry, I still don't know how to green screen. You can't tell, but cut off is actually over here is Thrommel, who's a dwarf. There's Minotaur. So those are the races, but the races are irrelevant. You will be playing the game. Sometimes you theoretically could have 5 orcs in a party, but you could have you could have one of each, you could have 2, and it doesn't matter. The composition is not based on anything racial like a lot of games that you would play. And that's really cool. You're really just picking what works to play your game, and you're trying to find a group of heroes, and I think heroes is the correct term that they use, to create a warband that's going to be able to meet the objective. The objective in all of these games is to destroy what they call the effigy. And if you've played, so like I said, I'm familiar with Heroes of the Storm, and Heroes of the Storm, you kill the core. I don't know if it's called the core in the other games, but presumably it's all the same sort of idea. There's a thing at the end of your map, and you need to destroy it to win the game. In Judgment, that's what you're doing too. At both sides of the circular table, there's going to be an effigy. You need to kill that. You can do direct damage to it, or you can do damage by picking up souls, which as you play the game, you'll sort of see. I'm not going to delve super deep into the game mechanics in this episode. I may do some of that later on. Really, the purpose for this is I actually reached out to them because I'm going to MuseonCon this weekend to see, and I asked them, I said, if you are willing to send me some early models, I will do demos with them. And because I think this, and I haven't said this yet, but the models for this game are 54 millimeter scales. So if you're coming from War Machine Hordes, that's the one I'm most familiar with, or some of the other Warhammer 40K things. Those are all 30 mil base. So in War Machine, like a heavy war beast is on a 50 millimeter base. Now imagine if your human like infantrymen were scaled up to that base size. That's the scale that this game is in, and that leads for some amazing looking models. And I'm about to show you some here in a minute. But that is one of the biggest selling points for this game, and that was what I like MOBAs, and I might have backed the game if it was just that. and I don't really play a skirmish game, so I might have considered it for just that. And the rules look really solid. So again, like these are all individual things, but none of them are the real reason. Like they're not the thing that pushed me over the edge. The thing that pushed me over the edge is that these models are awesome. When you're playing this game on a table from a distance, somebody's going to see that model and go, "What is that? That looks awesome." If you've ever played Infinity, Guild Ball, Malifaux, they have some really cool models. You're not going to, a lot of them, you're not going to really, until you get real close, you're not really going to see how awesome they are. And they often will get very lost on a big table full of terrain. And that's okay. That's not to take anything away from those games, but sometimes they lose that like grandeur feeling that a lot of people have gotten from playing like War Machine 40K and other games of that size, because it's so few models per like table size and for the size of the model. And these models are very present. You'll see here in a second what I mean by that, but like you're gonna look across the room and see like, what is that awesome orc rogue? I'm talking about Riku. Yeah, so I was very excited about this. I reached out to the guys at Judgement. I said, hey, I'm going to this convention. It was too late for Adepticon. I said, I'm going to this convention at the end of May. This is totally up to you. I've already kicked the game. If you are willing to send me some things, I will do my best to run a few demos or play a few games there to show off the game for you. I'm going to try to get plenty of pictures so that those can go up on the Judgement Facebook group or wherever they would like to put them as well. So anybody who sees me playing this, remind me constantly to be taking pictures, because I'm sometimes get in the zone and I'm so excited playing the game that I'll forget. But yeah, I'm going to really try to get those out on Twitter and stuff too. But this game is gorgeous. Really cool thing too, I think they have really thought it through from top to bottom, sort of like what you need for this game. So they have, the game uses unique dice. They have measuring tools. You can use anything to measure. The increments are in inches, so you can use anything, but they do have things they're providing for you. They have cards for the stats. They have plans to update them with balances if they need to. They have a cardboard 2-foot, I'll show that off in a minute, 2-foot diameter map that actually has 2 maps. So this is, and I really like this idea because it sticks with the MOBA idea, where in a MOBA there are a fixed number of maps you play on, right? I've been told League only uses 1. Here's a Storm I think has 13 right now. I don't know what the other games are. So I think that's actually a cool feature that you can do custom terrain. They have rules for all different types of terrain, but you could also just use the maps that they provide you to play the game. And I think that's really cool because it's going to really help strategies develop over time, right? If you have this combination of models on this map where this thing is here, you can do this. The game has tokens, and they're all they're a very defined thing. They are the ones selling them. They are defined size. Their rules around them. I really love that. And best of all, if you want to try this game out, you can go to their website, which is judgment.game. Make sure you spell judgment this way. I'm told that in America we don't use the E, but we're full judge and then meant. Yeah. They have all the game rules. They have paper models that you can print out and use. They have the maps. They have everything. So if you want to try this game out, you want to play this game, go out, play it, and see if you like it. I think that's an awesome direction a lot of game companies are going, and they're going that direction. I believe they've even talked about having an app for the game at some point. I don't know where that is in development, but I'm excited to see that. I didn't mention this, but they have, this was all a part of the Kickstarter, and you can still get all of these things. The 3-foot diameter comes on a roll-up neoprene style mat. I don't believe that's reversible, but it does have, I think there's like 4 or 5 different maps that play on it, and like there's spots for where the things will pop up, and there's also it'll come with little covers, so if that part of the map isn't used for what you're playing, or that part of the display isn't used for what you're playing, you just cover it up. It's really cool. They've thought of a lot of things, and on top of that, the game rules are really fun. So I'd like to definitely show off a few of the things. So I'm going to start with taking a look at some of the models, mostly because they're on top of things, and work my way through a few things. So these are things, again, I'm going to have all of this stuff at MuseonCon, so if you're there, and you probably on Friday, will be the big day that I have time to do demos, and then sporadically throughout as I have time. But just want to show off a few of these models. So they were able to send me 6. 5 of them are heroes. One of them is the neutral monster Gloom. So that's another thing with this. There are neutral pieces that sort of have something of an AI. It's a little, I would call it intentionally rudimentary in that they don't do anything really, they're not going to do anything really crazy that would require you, like, you know, a deck of cards to determine like how they work, like you know, like the AI in like say the Dark Souls game that came out, which if I ever played that, we may talk about that, but different show. Yeah, so Gloom, who's a neutral monster, and then we have the first 5 heroes, which is really cool because it's one of each race. We have Rakir, who's behind me, Mysterio behind me to the other side, Bastion over there, Thrommel, who is the model that's painted that I'm really excited to show you, as well as Thorgar, who's a Minotaur, and that's 5. So I'm just getting too excited. All right, so to start showing you some of these models, just to give you... actually, if you hold on one moment, I want to do something to help with scale. Okay. Sorry, I should have been planned better. But I'm going to start with Estario. So you can see her art behind you. So this is going to be tricky. This is, I don't know, focus, there you go. Make sure this press that worked. This is Estario. She's a elf fire mage. This model is awesome. I can only get so close, I think. I don't know how well my camera's going to focus. Oh, actually, it's doing a really good job. I'm really blurry, but you can see Estario. There is so much detail on this model. And just to give you a perspective, that's what I actually got up for. So this, from here, you're probably like, oh, you know, it doesn't seem that different from what I'm used to. So this on, in my right hand over here is Captain Rengrave from War Machine and Hordes. This is a 30mm model. This, let's see if I can get them closer. Come on. 2 things might have a hard time. I don't know if it'll focus. No. So anyways, but you get the idea of the scale difference, right? He comes up to like her hip. Just to give you a reference for how big it is. Yes, Mr. Person in the chat, Philip. They are all resin. I imagine all of the models in the line, but all the models I have are resin. So just something to keep in mind as just a bit of feedback on that is models that are resin that have narrow points can be brittle. So I would say that's something to take of note with these models. You do want to be careful with them, as you know. I'll try to show this closer again. You know, you can see she's got some relatively thin arms. The leg here is thinnish. And I don't know if I can show you this, but her fingers, I'm not the best with the camera. I mean, she has tiny little fingers there. They're not really focusing. Maybe if I cover my face up. No. Anyways, she has tiny little fingertips. A lot of things you want to be very careful with. Actually, in this case, the ear here has a little chip that we'll probably need to do a little molding to fix. Not a big deal. Nothing that I think is an issue with the molding. It's just something anytime you have a game with resin models, you want to be careful. But another key feature, it's kind of hard to tell, but this fire and on the base is all swirling fire. That is a feature of these models. They will all have a scenic base, but it is entirely optional. She is completely separate from this. If we had wanted to put her, I mean, she'd be posed this way, but if we want to put her on some other base for whatever reason, we could easily do that. So this is Estario. Like I said, maybe it'll real quick. Yeah, we got it that time. She looks really cool. Then I mentioned there's a neutral monster. So this is Gloom. All right, let's see if I can. And that in the background is Sorsha drinking water. He's a neutral monster, like I mentioned. And the cool thing with him is he's like this weird ghostly shadowhound type thing. Not ghostly, but like shadowy shadowhound. He's a shadowy shadowhound. I'm really good at this. He's featured prominently on some of the maps. Sometimes there's two of him, which is interesting. Yeah, so he's very cool. I'll maybe get pictures of these and we'll do an episode of this where I actually show pictures in it, but I did not have that kind of time ahead of time. This is a lot of this is to make sure that I have the appropriate amount of hype for the game and for myself and for people I may run into at MusicCon. To go into another model, so this is Astariel is an aggressor. So there are 4 categories of models in this game. There are aggressors, defenders, supporters, and soul gazers. They do kind of what they say. Aggressors are there about damage. Defenders are there to prevent other things from taking damage, get in the way, do defensive type maneuvers. They don't deal as much damage typically. Supporters, sorry, I'll go to them last. Soul gazers are they're usually somewhere in split, have little features of the others, but what their big focus is they're better at grabbing loose souls off the board and using souls for certain things. And then support, which is what it sounds like, right? They're there to do something supporting in some fashion, but different than how the soul gazers do it. So this is Bastion. He is a human. He's the only. So the game had 10 that were part of the baseline Kickstarter, and then an additional 4 heroes after that. And I believe Bastion, of the original 10, Bastion is the only support model. He's a melee support. He supports melee actually as well. That's kind of what he looks like. So again, a lot of detail. Really cool stone base. He's got this awesome looking book. There's a lot of detail in these models. I would say they're not the bulk of like a War Beast and War Machine hordes, but the detail here is spectacular. I'm very excited. And if Griffin's Roost ever has a show and is painting stuff, I would not be surprised if these end up on there. There's nodding from my producer, who also happens to be Griffin's Roost painting. Some of them are very large on these bases. So this is Thorgar. He's the Minotaur. This model is pretty massive. For if any of you are familiar with Scorn and trying to fit as much as you can on a 50 mil base, here you go. Except he's a cow. He's actually heavy too. He about fell in my hands there. He's got a big axe. He's also an aggressor. Obviously melee focused. He's going to axe you a couple questions. I said it. Again, very scenic base. This guy, he's sort of doing this running punch thing where he smashed his fist into that dude, and he's now squished. So, I wouldn't get in his way. Really cool model. Just to give you sort of a reference on how a Minotaur is compared to, say, elves. It's actually trickier to do than I thought. There's Astariel and there's Thorgar. So he is beefy. And yes, I'm enjoying the puns. I'm being laughed at by my producer again. And then my favorite model to play so far, and I'm very excited when Griffin's Roost gets a chance to paint it. Unfortunately, we had hoped there would be more time to paint more models. A little extra fuzz on here. However, we had some personal life stuff coming up, and it took a while for, it takes a while to ship things from Australia, as you may or may not know. They're on the other side of the world from where I'm at. So really time only worked out to be able to paint one, but I think even seeing these models in person, people are really going to see the potential of them and just see how awesome the models themselves are. I'd actually hoped, even if we had plenty of time, to maybe have at least one that was unpainted, just so people could see, what it looks like assembled and then what it can look like when it's really done by a pro. So this is Bastion. He's this guy right there, and he is also an aggressor. So we have 3 aggressors in this set. It's just how it worked out. And he's, what did I say he was? Bastion. I said he was Bastion. Bastion's over there. I showed you Bastion already. He's the dude with the book. This is Rakir. This is why I have a producer, apparently. He is like a rogue type, as you can see. He's got a big cloak. He's got a dagger. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. Let's see. He's got a smoke bomb in his... Come on. Find the model. You can do it, camera. There we go. Yeah. Oh, dude. If I could steady my hand, that would help a lot. Anyways, that's Rakir. He's got a smoke bomb there. He's got a dagger. And this guy uses like shadows to jump around on the board. It's really cool. He's probably my favorite because I love playing sneaky roguey types. He is the tallest model when you add his base in, for sure. Again, really cool base. He's sort of leaping off, about to stab you, because that's what you do when you're an assassin type. Yeah, you get this awesome looking cloak. That's what really makes him so tall. Yeah, very cool model. And then what I'm going to refer to presently as the pièce de résistance. This is Thrommel. This is hot off the painting desk of Griffin's Roost painting. Like literally it got finished a few hours ago. Probably still get a little more on the base even. This guy's real cool. He's a defender. He's the only defender in this set. Of the original 10, I think there's 2 or 3 defenders. Or no, there's definitely at least 3. Come on, zoom in on the guy. Maybe if I go real close and then back up, it like seems like, nope, not this time. Real close and then back up. There we go. Oh, yeah. So there's this guy. And actually my camera is not remotely doing justice to this model, which is sad. And part of that I think is my green screen. So, but anyways, if you are going to MusonCon, you will definitely be able to check this guy out. We're going to try that again real close. There we go. But you can see how detailed this is. The base, really cool. That's my finger, though. I don't know. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of artifacts from the thing. But as you can see, again, very awesome models. He's one of the smaller ones, actually, because he's a dwarf. They're short. Who knew? Yeah, so those are some of the models. The models are awesome. The models are the reason to look into this game, in my opinion. If you love the idea of pushing a couple beautiful models across the table to have some really cool interactions, this game is right up your alley. So that's what the models look like. Just some other quick stuff they sent. So each model will have a card. They did not send me cards, but you can print them out. So I have just some printed out cards that actually thanks to one of my local players when we did a paper demo, he just let me keep them, so I didn't have to print them out again. Thank you, Sean. Just moving some stuff out of the way. They also sent, and I bought all of these things, so this is not like they sponsored me, but they have available these measuring markers. So this one measures 1, 2, and 3 inches, and they're all 1 inch. So you've got, if you're familiar with the Sorsha, come on. Somebody's being nosy about the models. Don't need. They're not good for dogs. Anyways, there we go. This has a 1, actually it has a half, which I haven't had come up yet, but half, 1, 2, and 3 inches on here, and then they go up in subsequent size. So there's a 4, 5. Let me see if I can do this. It's sort of backwards for me, but you can see, you know, you get sort of all these. There's sort of a white plastic. They feel almost like a really heavy plastic card that are like really high quality, but they're cut very nicely. They have the individual marks, as you can see on them. So, you know, you can measure down to the 1/4 inch on each one. They're really nice. Nothing you can't get from other games and things like that, but just something I thought I would mention. One neat thing is the game does use some, not all, you'll need some standard D6s, but they also use some, this is going to be hard to do, some unique D6s. So they look, I think there's 5 colors that come in. They just sent me the black ones. I may order a second set because I would like the blue ones. I think there's blue, green, black, yellow, and red. I could be wrong on that. But they have, on where the 6 would be, they have a J. And then on where the 5 and the 4 would be, there's this, and that's a hit. The J counts as a hit and a maneuver, and then this is the maneuver side. And then you'll see there's 2 blank sides on where the 1 and the 2 would be. Neat feature of this game is whenever you roll these dice, you always pick the 3 highest, no matter how many you roll. So that's part of how you're going to try to fix what dice you roll and things like that. And there's various different maneuvers and things like that you can do with them. As I said, you'll still need some standard D6s for a few things, rolling to go first, for example, and things like that. And then I definitely did want to mention, so another thing that I really love about this game is they thought about tokens right from the beginning, which makes sense. A lot of these guys have played a lot of other war games. So here's an example. This is a soul token. These have a defined size, all tokens in the game have a defined size of 25 millimeters. And that lets them do things like, let me see if I can find, shadow orbs are a defined thing that you can actually place on the battlefield. I don't know if they actually call it a battlefield. On the map, on the table, whatever you want to say. Nope, not that one. I'm looking for shadow orb. There we go. So this one is a shadow orb. Getting a reflection off the camera because they're a little gloss. There you go. And this actually, Rakir uses these, and the Necromancer Zarin uses. And the nice thing about these is you place them in base to base. Well, there's no question then, like, for game balance, for play, like, well, what size is that thing supposed to be? How does it get placed? When you place it, does it, you know, what does that mean? What is it? It's a 25 millimeter circle. Always. They're always 25 millimeter circles. Every token, I have a whole, they sent me the token set that I got as part of the Kickstarter with the level that I did. They sent me all of them. Now you could, again, these can be printed out. You can just use paper for them if you want, but they're still 25 millimeters, assuming you cut them out correctly. Fantastic, really. I mean, in War Machine and Hordes, for example, which is the game I'm most familiar with coming into this, they really don't have effects on the table a lot of times, but that's led to a few things that are tricky, right? Like if you ever saw Helldivers in Mark, well, you can still see them in Mark 3, but mostly in Mark 2, the little marker isn't like on a base, and people are like, well, what size is that, and where does it start, and how does it work? And I don't know about other games, but I really like that they thought about that when they were designing this game. So that was really big, and I think the tokens look pretty nice. They're a nice hefty, a nice decently thick clear acrylic with a printed background. Very quality. And finally, I sort of was mentioning this, and we'll see if I can do this. You probably won't be able to see my face. They sent me the board game. They call it the board game version of the game. It's a 2 foot by 2 foot folds up into a 1 foot by 1 foot square that has the circle on it. It's double-sided. So this just folds up. If you've ever played most board games, you'll see it looks like this. So you basically get two of the only two presently maps that are 2 foot by 2 foot. This is going to be tricky because we'll flip it over so I can cheat and look through this little slot. It'll be kind of creepy, but I'll be able to see. This is sort of what it looks like. So you see down here is one of the effigies. You can see there's various terrain on here. There's this is like a forest here. These are lava pit hazards. There's rules for that. This is a shrine that helps you get fate. The neutral monster will pop out here, and up here somewhere, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, there's a soul pit. That's where a free soul will start popping out on different turns. And then it even measures your deployment. That's going to go like here, which I didn't do perfectly. And then on the other side, same idea, but it's a totally different map. So again, you have shrines. This one has some walls. There's an obstacle here. I looked it up. You can see there's that forest type down there. The neutral monster pops out of the little sewer-looking thing. There's some souls. This one actually has 2. One there, one there. So, and then when you're done, convenient thing. The 3 foot by 3 foot, it's a neoprene mat, and that rolls up. It'll come with a case, I believe. So, I'm not really going to keep going too long on this. I really want to do this. This is more like hype. Summary sort of suggests that I have a conclusion I'm trying to reach, but I'm going to tell this story more like my wife, where there's mostly just middle. And, yeah. But I wanted to really show off those models. I really wanted to thank the folks over at Judgement for being willing to send me stuff early, and I hope to repay that by, well, one of the things is doing this, right, is showing off these things. So I did get these early. This was a special arrangement that I was fortunate enough to make with them. They are still very on track for September. I think it's really, I don't know how many Kickstarters other folks have done, but like I've certainly seen people say, yeah, we'll have this stuff by September, and I kicked this in February. And you know, people are still waiting a year from September. So I've got 6 models. I've seen on their site that they have more. I think if we'd had maybe a week or 2 more before this con, they would have had at least 1 more model to send me. So I didn't have to use. I'll be using a paper doll for model number 6 for the demo games. So yeah, that's great. It's great to see that. So anyways, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if this will be a regular channel or a regular show or not. I don't know. I may try to get some gameplay videos at some point in the future. As models are being painted, I certainly plan to show them off, or at least point you in the direction of Griffins painting, where they will be showing them off. And really, this game, if you are a painter who likes the game, check out this game. You will be rewarded by only having a few models that you can paint super well. Where I know a lot of people who are painters really prefer that to, like, having to paint unit on unit on unit of models, which can be a little bit, which will look cool when done, right? And not necessarily need that same quality of painting. You're looking more for like the theme of the army and stuff then. But a lot of the folks who really like to paint, you would love it. And if you also like to game, check this game out, because you're going to get some awesome models to paint at a scale that pretty much every other game apparently is scared of, and a game that is really fun. And like I said, I'm about to cut this show off here, but another episode we may talk about some gameplay, or maybe I'll try to play a game and make sure frankly that I'm doing it right, because I'm going off of the rules book and the videos, whereas most other games I've picked up, somebody else has been able to show me. But I can't afford to fly to Australia to learn to play a game. So we are hopefully headed in the right direction. But what I've played of it's been fun so far. I do feel like it does play a lot like a MOBA, which is cool. So yeah. Anyways, I'll be at MuseonCon. Look Friday for me in one of the open areas to play. I'll probably be set up with everything you just saw, and we'll run through the game. You can come play a game with me if we get enough people going. We will maybe I'll just sit back and watch and try to remember to take pictures. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. Don't look for a regular schedule for this show just yet. I'll be doing them sporadically as it makes sense, and I look forward to seeing you at the con. All right, until then, have a good one.